All that seems to be on my mind is husband. I just wanna touch a onion. She just want a couple hundred. I got mad and changed the subject. Then I got drunk and said fuck it. This is for my hustling niggas. This is for my hustling bitches. Pull up with that Aquafina. Yellow bone, her name is Tina. Tina like the hit casinos. Tina could snort a whole kilo. Tina like to fight and argue. Bye bye Tina, bitch, you are you? Met a dark skin chick named Anna. Anna like that marijuana. Anna was from the Bahamas. At least that's what she said. I assume she's honest. I apologize, Your Honor. I just wanted me some money. You can't tell these niggas frontin'. You can't tell these niggas nothing. 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 All that seems to be on my mind is hustling. All that seems to be on my mind is hustling. This is for my hustling niggas. This is for my hustling niggas. This is for my hustling bitches. This is for my hustling bitches. Nigga, don't act so suspicious.
Yo, what's good? Van on Vorong. I don't know how to pronounce it, but what's good? What's that say? Tamasia. What's good? What's good with you? What's good with you? Alright, give me a little second. Let me check the audio. Alright, we rolling. What's good with everybody? Welcome back. Back for another one. What's good with everybody? So, had to take the day off yesterday, but we back for another one. And new news breaking: Gervonta Davis versus Vasiliy Lomachenko is in the works. His trainer, Calvin Ford, is pushing for Gervonta Davis to take on Vasiliy Lomachenko. Yo, what's good, Ryan Lamb? What's good with you? Appreciate you for stopping through. Hit that like button as y'all come through. Subscribe if you ain't subscribed. Calvin Ford is pushing for Gervonta Davis to face off with Vasiliy Lomachenko. Big fight. I was hoping for Gervonta. Let me fix something real quick. Forgot to do this. But I was hoping for Gervonta Davis versus George Kambosos. But I think we're going to end up with George Kambosos versus Devin Haney. And I was thinking maybe Vasiliy might jump on the George Kambosos fight as well. But it's looking like, once again, it's Devin Haney and not Vasiliy or Gervonta Davis. So I thought both of those guys, because of how high they ranked, the type of wins they have, I thought both of those guys would be the first ones to jump on the George Kambosos fight and maybe try to prove that what he did was a fluke, even though I don't think George Kambosos is any kind of fluke. But when you got high-profile fighters, a lot of times one will try to outdo the other. And it's seeming more like the two respectable, the two technical, the two more mysterious fighters are wanting to get it on George Kambosos and Devin Haney. And the guys you think should be at the top of the mountain, the Gervonta Davises, the Vasiliy Lomachenkos, they're choosing to fight it out with each other. So, I wouldn't say top of the mountain. They're like second in line now because, that George Kambosos has all the belts. So those guys, you would think because of the high-profile wins, really Vasil's a real high-profile fighter. Tank's getting up there, is getting paid a lot of money. So I would I just thought, yeah, and I like Tank. I think Tank has the skills to beat a lot of these guys at 130, 135, but he's not showing improving, and this is why I say George Kambosos deserves to be ranked way higher than a lot of other fighters. Is because he's showing improving, man. He's not taking no excuses. You either gonna fight me or I'm moving on to the next one. And Devin Haney has stepped to the table, but it's looking like now that Tank Davis's camp are calling out Vasiliy, and they want that Vasiliy fight, which I like that fight. But I think it would be weird. I think it would be weird if they actually make the fight and it happens over in Russia or it happens over in the Ukraine or wherever Vasiliy decides. Because I think Vasiliy is the A side in that fight. I do feel like he has more of the pay per view power in that fight. So I would favor him as the A side, and I would think that he would get to pick the venue. And I would really have to question Gervonta Davis at that moment because you didn't want to go to Australia and fight Kambosos for the titles, but you'll go to the Ukraine and fight Vasiliy for no titles. I don't really understand that move. If that's how it ends up playing out, I would have to start questioning uh, Gervonta Davis at that moment, and his actual skill set. Maybe he's just going after certain fighters. Maybe he's doing a little bit of cherry picking himself. Maybe he's taking the Floyd Crawford route of picking certain fighters to go after because he knows his skills outweigh their skills at the moment. So it's going to be interesting to see how the negotiation process works out. Ryan Lamb says Gary Russell fighting this weekend on Showtime. I'll definitely be checking that out. I definitely will be checking that out. So I appreciate that, Ryan Lamb, for throwing that in the chat for anybody who didn't know. Who's he fighting, Ryan? Who's he gonna fight? I'm gonna read this article that that came out today. Calvin Ford, head trainer for Gervonta Davis, eager for showdown against Vasiliy Lomachenko. We waiting on that fight. It's crazy how they how they quote people. They don't correct their English. They just put it how they said it. Like most of the boxing world, head trainer Calvin Ford finds a showdown between Gervonta Davis, the multiple division titleist. He's trained for well over a decade, and Vasiliy Lomachenko, a very interesting bout. Although Davis has moved up and down in weight over the past few years, the Baltimore native appears to be placing his flag at 135 permanently following an 11-round stoppage win over Mario Barrios in June of 2021 at 140 pounds. Davis returned to the lightweight division to defend his secondary WBA title against Isaac Cruz in what turned out to be a difficult back and forth battle. Davis ultimately prevailed, winning a close unanimous decision. With the boxing calendars of Davis and Lomachenko currently wide open, Ford is anxiously waiting for a showdown between the pair to materialize. So, what a mouthful. And you know what's crazy? They talked about the Mario Barrios fight. I didn't realize that was at 140 pounds. I thought that they were at 135, but now that I think about it, Mario Barrios is moving up from 140 to 147. So that should not surprise me, but I didn't know that at the time of the fight that they were actually fighting at 140. Which I said, Tank Davis, he can go up to 140 in campaign if he wants to, if he doesn't mind, playing around with the weight, which he's still young, so he can still play around with the weight a little bit. But it might start to hurt him as he goes further along in his career if he keeps trying to jump up and down and jump up and down. But it's a perfect opportunity for him to go to 140 and become champion if I'm sorry, if Josh Taylor decides to drop those titles after because he's supposed to defend his titles here, I think either a week or 2 or 3 from now, and then go up to 147. So will he decide to go to 147, test the water, then go back down, or will he decide to go to 147 and stay? I think that's the question. So if he leaves and vacates all those titles, it's the perfect opportunity for Gervonta Davis to jump in there and grab those titles and claim that he's the champion and everything. Going there and claim his stake as the champion at 140. Because I think it's going to be a long, bumpy road for anybody jumping in the ring with George Kambosos. All right, so TJ Carter, Loma KO's Tank before the 10th, maybe earlier. Interesting. I think it's going to be a heck of a showdown. I think you got speed versus power, speed angles versus power, and ring generalship. Gervonta Davis is a tremendous ring general, and his power is sneaky. It can sneak up on you. So it's going to be interesting to see how that how that fight ultimately actually does play out. Whose fighting style wins out in that scenario? Me personally, I think because Gervonta Davis is so big and is so powerful, I think he's going to be able to take some of those combinations. Because the thing about Vasiliy, he don't beat you with power; he beats you with overwhelming punches. And I don't think those punches. He doesn't throw his punches with enough power to stun Davis. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to stun. I don't think his power is going to stun him in a similar in a way to where it didn't stun Teofimo Lopez. At no point in that fight was it the punches that he was throwing, even though he said his shoulder was messed up. But he still was throwing with one good arm. His power didn't really resonate in that fight. And I think it's because T.O. is a bigger fighter and Gervonta Davis is a bigger body. So I'm not sure if those punches are going to resonate on Davis the way they have on other fighters. This is my opinion. So I think ultimately it will come down to the last few rounds, and I think both guys are going to gas out. I think Davis's power and shots to the body will gas Vasiliy. I think Vasiliy's work rate will gas Tank. But I think it's going to play out to the last couple of rounds. Who's in the better conditioning? And how does Vasiliy handle Tank's punches when he does land? Because Vasiliy's going to land some combinations. Tank's going to land some good shots. Can Vasiliy take those early good shots well enough to carry him further into the fight? And that's going to be the question mark. Because that's the question mark I have about George Kambosos if he was to face off with Tank. Okay, I know you can slug. And I know you can slug with big guys because you're a bigger fighter. Now, this is the difference between Vasiliy and George Kambosos. George Kambosos' size is sneaky. He doesn't look like a big guy, but he's actually bigger than Teofimo Lopez. So I think his size would have gave Vasiliy some problems. In the same way, I think Gervonta Davis' size would give Vasiliy some problems. The same way I think George Kambosos' size would give Gervonta Davis some problems. So it's going to be a weird fight. I think ultimately Davis' size is going to win that fight for him. I don't think Vasiliy matches up well with bigger fighters because of his body type. I don't think he belongs at 135 or above. I think his best weight is 130. And I think when he tries to fight over 130, it takes the sting out of his punches. I don't know why some fighters, as they move up, their punches get heavier. Some fighters, as they move up, they lose the sting on their punches because their body type really isn't meant to carry 5 more pounds, and he can't throw with the same velocity as he would if he was 5 pounds lighter. So I think because Tank does carry the weight well, and because Tank is a bigger body, at the end of the fight. I see Tank landing one of those shots late in the fight. I think Vasiliy gives him a good fight up until later on, but I think Tank ultimately wins out uh, in the later rounds. My personal opinion. Ryan Lamb says Russell fighting Mark my side guy. You know, I saw that, and I saw that on Freddie Roach's Instagram, but I didn't realize that the fight was coming up this weekend. Like, I didn't realize it was like a few days away because it said that he was fighting hurt. So I'm like, okay, he's hurt. So I'm guessing this fight's gonna be like 3 months down the line, but it's coming. I didn't realize that. Okay, so somebody got to clarify to me what this hurt. What's the hurt part of it? How was he hurt? And why is he fighting? Why are they continuing to fight while he's hurt? TJ Carter says all good points, man. It's going to be an interesting matchup between Vasiliy and Davis because, like I said, Vasil's size, I think it ultimately hurts him. I think that's why he really hasn't tried to shoot for 140. Is because he don't his frame is not built for 140. And 130, he's great at 130. He's fast. The power's there. When he starts to move up a little bit, and when he gets faced off with fighters who are ultimately their body frames are bigger than his, then I think his style of moving around and making angles, because it doesn't come with power like Pacquiao came with power. He doesn't come with power. So it's just him moving around the ring a lot and wasting a lot of energy because those guys can absorb his punches. And if a guy can take his punches and deliver power back, I think it's gonna have a reverse effect on Vasiliy, and he's gonna ultimately lose the fight. But it has to play out. We got to see. It might play out different. Maybe Vasiliy brings a new wrinkle to the table we haven't seen yet. I did watch some of his last fight. He looked spectacular the way he was moving around the guy. But once again, that guy who was fighting wasn't a huge name. He's not a Gervonta Davis. So we can't say based off that fight that that's how he's gonna look versus Davis. But we got 3 or 4 people in here, man. What's good with everybody, man? Somebody let me know what's good with you. What's the fight that you're most looking forward to coming up? Is it Tank Davis, Vasiliy? Is it Kambosa, Haney? We got Josh Taylor, and I forgot who he's fighting. I forgot. We got Spence. We got Ugas. We got Charlo Castano. A lot of good fights coming up. We got Thurman and Barrios. A lot of good fights coming up. So who you guys most looking forward to? I think the Barrios fight and Thurman, I think that's the most intriguing because we haven't seen Thurman in a long time. So I'm really curious to see what Thurman's going to bring to the table. Does he have anything left? Is Barrios better than what we thought he was? Can he beat Thurman? Because if Barrios beat Thurman, then that says a lot about Thurman at this point. And I know some people are saying he should fight Earl. I know PBC I think's wanting to set that fight up. Some people saying Crawford should fight Thurman if he beats Barrios. For Crawford, I don't like that fight. I think it's another garbage man fight. I think the same thing for Spence. I think I like a better I would like more a Boots Ennis versus Thurman fight. I think that makes more sense. A Virgil Ortiz versus Thurman. I think that makes more sense. But ultimately it depends on what the promotional companies want to do. And which way they try to go. Because if Thurman does look good, they're always going to want to cash in off that. And there is the rivalry between Thurman and Spence out there, even though who who cares at this point? We want to see Spence and Crawford get it on, man. This is all anybody's looking forward to is Spence and Crawford. But in the lightweight division, all eyes are on George Kambosos, Devin Haney, and Gervonta Davis and Vasiliy Lomachenko at the moment. And then you got, of course, Shakur Stevenson. He got a fight coming up. And then Ryan Land mentioned Gary Russell this weekend and Mark Masaiga, which I'm glad you brought that up because I haven't seen Masaiga fight live. I tried to watch him during the Pacquiao Ugas fight, but I was trying to do a stream and watch the fight. The stream kept going in and out, and it was just it turned out horribly. At the end, I think YouTube ended up booting me off for some reason. I don't know what happened. I can't remember what happened. It just didn't turn out well. So I definitely got to watch Mark Masaiga fight live and really get a full view of what he brings to the table, man. Because I haven't haven't done that up until this point. I know he's great. I have watched his fight before that, but I was in and out of the fight once again. I wasn't really paying a lot of attention to it because I think I was trying to stream during that fight as well. So, oh man, I don't know how long I'm gonna stay on today. I impromptu. I did. I had went and watched the Louisville game yesterday, so I couldn't get on live. Because I got back late and it was just too late to try to get on live. So put it on hold for yesterday and came back today. What's everybody up to, man? I'm definitely going to keep trying to go live at least once a day for 20, 30, maybe an hour just to check in with everybody. I'm going to continue to put up the community posts. You can always check in over there. I do have to call in. I'm going to throw the call in number up real fast, see if anybody want to call in to, what is it? Yeah, you can hit that up if you want to call in real fast. And chop it up for a few minutes. Other than that, I've said my piece. And, I had a video that I did the other day that you guys can check out real fast. Go ahead and check that out real fast while I clear my throat.
Niggas outside, they slangin' that ride. Chicks on the side, they slangin' that. Nigga like me, they making see. Chicks making money.
I said I like her body, the way she move. She looks so sexy, the little thing she do. Now watch her work the table. Now watch her work the table. Now watch her work the table. Now watch her work the table.
He has most of the belts, so I have no problem with him being a favorite. Today we got to go in there and settle it. Numbers don't matter when it comes to that.
Look, I'll give him his props. At times he looked very sharp, boxed brilliant. That's his game. He boxes nicely. So
full respect there, and you can see the mutual respect because he wants it, I want it.
Man, I'm a huge George Kambosos fan, man. At this point, I really like Kambosos. I like the way he carries himself. I like his personality, his attitude, and I like Devin Haney too as well. The way when I watched this interview, what struck me was the respect that they have for each other, and and the way that they carry themselves as fighters. They're not overly cocky. They're not arrogant. They're not disrespecting one another. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they just want to fight, and they want to prove it in the ring. And that's very respectable of two very rich, very famous young fighters. When you have fighters like Earl Spence and fighters like Mayweather and fighters like Crawford nowadays, they avoid each other as much as possible, and that personalities in the public are so over the top and arrogant and cocky that George Kambosos and Devin Haney are a breath of fresh air, especially two young guys that carry themselves like that. It's really nice to see. And that's the reason I referenced that. And even Gervonta Davis, even though his character's more over the top and a little more hood, he's a likable guy. He's a likable character. He's a likable fighter because he does prove it in the ring. Ultimately at the end of the day, he gets in the ring and he proves what he says. And I gravitate toward him because of that. Because of his show improved nature and attitude. And I like Vasiliy Lomachenko as well. Although I can't, it's harder to break the barrier with Vasiliy because he doesn't speak English. So it's when he speaks passionately, it's hard to get the context really because you got to go through a translator to understand what he's saying, and translation they miss the context sometimes. So I like what Vasiliy does in the ring, though. He shows and proves in the ring, and I think he deserved that Teofimo rematch when Teofimo was the champion, even though he ultimately didn't get it. But I would like to see him and George Kambosos get it on. But at the end of the day, I think Vasiliy versus Tank is just as good of a fight, and I think they both are going to bring it when they do fight and when it does come to fruition. Uh, as well as Devin Haney and George Kambosos, I think both of those guys are going to bring it to the table and give fans a super fight. And I'm hoping they get it signed. I'm hoping both of these fights get signed and fans get what they want. What do you guys think are going to be the which fight do you guys think is going to be the better of those two fights? Will it be the Kambosos Haney fight or the Vasiliy Lomachenko Gervonta Davis fight? I would say, hmm. Hmm. I would say the Kambosos Haney fight is going to be a lot more technical. I think that one's going to come down to the wire. I think the Vasiliy Davis fight is going to come down to the wire as well, but I think it's going to get stopped a little bit earlier than the Kambosos Haney fight. I think that might go all 12 rounds. And I think the Davis fight might get stopped in the 9th or 10th round. I think Davis stops him in the 9th or 10th round. I think Vasiliy gasses himself out because Gervonta Davis can absorb his combinations, and I think Davis, maybe like the Barrios fight, lands a big old shot and knocks. Was it Barrios or Santa Cruz that he knocked? I think it was both. I think it was Barrios that he knocked out. Not cold, clean. No, it might not was Santa Cruz that he knocked out. I think he's gonna knock him out even worse than he knocked out Santa Cruz, like he did him in the corner. So it's gonna be interesting when those two fights do play out, when they play out, who wins, how both guys look. Because ultimately, what I'm looking for is a Tank Davis versus George Kambosos fight. So I think if Tank beats Vasiliy and then Kambosos beats Haney, then I think that's the setup for that. And one more thing before I get out of here, because we didn't get too many people coming through the chat today, but that's all good. That's all good. I think I will say this about Gervonta Davis. I was getting to something earlier when I was speaking about him and him not fighting and him fighting Vasiliy in the Ukraine and not fighting Kambosos in Australia. I think that says a lot about Tank Davis if that ultimately does play out that way, because I would look at it like this. Davis, I think, is a little worried about Kambosos. I think Kambosos, the way he did Teofimo, it kind of puts a question mark in Tank Davis's head. Like, maybe this guy is the real deal. Maybe he's not a fluke. Let somebody else match up with him first and see how they match up with him, because I feel like I can beat everybody, with the exception maybe of George Kambosos. So let me see how he matches up with somebody else elite, see how that fight goes, and then based off of that, I'll see where I want to fight him. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I think he's going to have to fight George Kambosos in Australia either way it goes. I think if Kambosos beats Haney, I don't think, and then Davis beats Vasiliy, I still don't think that's enough for him to command George Kambosos to come to America and fight him. I think it would be the other way around. Still, I think Kambosos still would have all the negotiating power and still would be able to set that fight up for Australia. And Davis would still have to come to Australia to fight him. So I would feel like Davis is a little afraid of Kambosos if he fights Vasiliy in the Ukraine and not Kambosos in Australia. You know, that would say a lot about Tank Davis at the end of the day to me and his skill sets. Because I'm giving Devin Haney a lot of credit for saying, man, he didn't waste no time. He got on a plane and he went straight over to Australia and tried to make the fight. So I give Devin Haney all the credit in the world for no excuses, man. He's just trying to make the fight. No excuse. He hopped on a plane, went over and was trying to negotiate his terms out. So let's give all the applause to Devin Haney, and let's put a question mark on Gervonta Davis and what's going on with Davis and why didn't he go after all those belts? And why does he keep saying these belts don't matter to him? You know, these belts don't matter when at the end of the day, the belts are the goal. The belts are your show and are your proof of what you do. You know, he do talk a lot. He talks a lot of trash. He may talk a lot of ish. And that's something that I like about him because he does back it up in the ring. But for you not to go after a Kambosos fight makes me wonder, man. It really makes me wonder. All right, y'all. So I think that's where I'm going to end it at for the day. I'll be back on here tomorrow unless y'all got something else y'all want to talk about. You know, I don't want to be the rambling guy who gets on live and just talks y'all to death. All my lives will be for a purpose. And if there are other people in the chat participating in the chat, then I'll extend them out based off the chat. But other than that, I think I hit all my talking points for the day. I hope everybody rewatches it because I do put all my lives back up. You know, there are talking points in there that people I think can take and go argue with other channels with. So definitely rewatch it, man. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're rewatching the replay. Dustin, I appreciate that. Nakoi. Can't pronounce it, man, but I appreciate you for dropping that in the chat. Don't know what that means, but salute to you, bro. Can always use more interaction in the chat, man. Definitely. Let me see what else I got left over from last week. What do I got? Y'all can watch another video, and then we'll ultimately say goodbye for the day. It's your boy Cardinal Wed, and we are out of here.
Niggas outside, they slanging that ride. Chicks on the side, they slanging that. Nigga like me, they making see.
People can say what they want to say about Keith Thurman. Unless if you come to St. Pete Boxing, unless you've been to Florida, unless if you actually know something about me, then you don't know anything about me. And this is my life. This is what I do. This is my passion. Keith Thurman, since the age of 7, has only had one job in life, and that's boxing. This is where I put my blood, my sweat, my tears. This is why I wear red, white, and blue every time I fight. Boxing is my American dream come true. Being on Fox Network is my American dream come true. Entertaining the fans, getting criticism from all those other people, all that clickbait material is my dream come true. So I don't hate on the haters. I appreciate that they still have time to talk about me, you know? I appreciate that they doubt me because your doubt motivates me. I do this for you. I do this for me. I do this like Martin Luther King because I'm living a dream.
All that seems to be on my mind is hustling. All that seems to be on my mind is hustling. All that seems to be on my mind is hustling. All that seems to be on
on my mind is husband. I just wanna touch her onion. She just want a couple hundred. I got mad and changed the subject. Then I got drunk and said fuck it. This is for my hustling niggas. This is for my hustling bitches. Pull up with that Aquafina. Yellow bone, her name is Tina. Tina like the hit casinos. Tina could snort a whole kilo. Tina like to fight and argue. Bye bye Tina, bitch, you are you? Met a dark skin chick named Anna. Anna like that marijuana. Anna was from the Bahamas. At least that's what she said. I assume she's honest. I apologize, Your Honor. I just wanted me some money. You can't tell these niggas frontin'. You can't tell these niggas nothing. 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 You can't tell these niggas nothing.